houses, both alike and dignity and forever, blah, 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 blah. You've already heard this already. What's important is that there are two groups that are feuding. The Montagues and the Capulets. You know, every war ever. Each side has been taken and their feud is reached a fever pitch. They are actively on the streets fighting each other, brawling. It's an absolute nightmare. And it's a nightmare for the wrestling company that they work for. So the general manager, the prince of the land, if you will, has basically issued an edict that Montagues and Capulets, you can't fight. And if you're caught out fighting, you're gonna die. I will exercise my right as general manager to not only terminate your contract, but to terminate your life. No brawling in the streets. None whatsoever. But that's not really important right now. We cut away over to Romeo Montague. He's the prodigal son of the Montague clan, but he isn't really interested in sort of this big gang turf money war with the Capulets. He has his sight set on what every teenage boy has his sight set on: love, absolute love. He falls head over heels for every girl that he encounters. Right about now, he's got his sights set on a hot number called Rosalind. Now, Romeo also has a best friend called Mercutio, and Mercutio is a top seed. He's a top card. He's wrestling at the peak of the company, but he slums it with Romeo sometimes because, you know, Romeo's a good guy. He likes hanging out with Romeo. Romeo isn't worried about getting this belt or this title, you know. He's a hopeless romantic, and so as a result, that's a breath of fresh air for Mercutio. Now, Romeo manages to talk Mercutio into a bunch of stupid situations. And the most recent one being, hey dude, why don't we go to a Capulet party in disguise and pretend to be Capulets? And Mercutio, being the good guy that he is, says, sure, alright, why not, whatever. It's at this party that Romeo runs into one Juliet Capulet, and, as is his way, falls head over heels in love with her immediately. Now, Juliet, she's pretty sharp. She's definitely got a few hundred dozen more brain cells than Romeo, but she's also kind of entranced by this dumbass. And maybe also because marriage is a thing that Juliet is also thinking about lately. This guy Paris showed up from France. He's kind of a mid-carder, but his parents are like, he's a nice guy, you should marry him. Oh, you should marry this Paris guy. And Juliet isn't head over heels for him, but she doesn't see any reason. And on top of that, it's a ticket out of basically a war zone. But she finds this spark of genuine passion. They kiss, they make out, they get to second base, but they're stopped from basically going all the way because at that moment, Tybalt Capulet shows up. Now, Tybalt is Juliet's cousin. He's another top seed, he's another big wrestler, and he recognizes Romeo's voice. Romeo and Mercutio basically hook a left one, and they book it out of there. Mercutio wants to get out of there because he knows how scary and dangerous Tybalt is. If Tybalt finds them, he's gonna kill them for sure. But Romeo, being the hopeless romantic that he is begging Mercutio to go back in to find Juliet and give her one last kiss, because neither of them know who the other's identity is at this time. So he manages to sneak back into the kitchen, finds Juliet, they make out one last time, and then her mother calls to her. And in that moment, Romeo figures out, oh shit, you're not just part of the Capulet family, you're Lord Capulet's daughter. Juliet goes off and she asks her nurse, she was like, who is that guy? And she was like, oh, that's Romeo, you know, Lord Montague's son. She's like, oh shit. Oh shit. Because both of these guys have immediately fallen head over heels in love with each other. Wing, wang, wong. End of Act 1. Now, some people might say that they are drawn together because of fate, because of teen love, because of blah 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 blah. I have a separate theory, which revolves around their attraction not being fueled by the heat of romantic angst and passion, but by the revelation that this person is their enemy. And this is the first great crack in a lie that they have been told their entire lives. That those people are the enemy, that they are the scum of the earth, that they are the worst thing ever. And that they will betray you, they will kill you, they will steal your babies, they'll do whatever it is to hurt you. And by random encounter, they found each other. And they have felt only good things. Not only is this love, not only does this make you feel good, but it's an escape from a toxic lie that has cost the lives of people that they have known and been friends with since they were born. The significance of Romeo and Juliet's love isn't, oh, love for love's sake. It's love to end a war. So Romeo goes to see Juliet, and he hangs out in her garden. He plays the idiot, writes a bunch of poetry for her. Juliet flirts with him a bunch, and the two realize that they are both actually genuinely in love with each other. They decide and agree to meet in secret and basically go back and forth and keep this hush-hush between them for forever. And it all culminates basically with Juliet sneaking out of her house, both of them going to a friary, and them being married, wed in secret. On the same day of this wedding, halfway across town, Mercutio runs into Tybalt, because Tybalt has been looking for Montague blood. Ever since he ran into 2 Montagues at his family, this has been an insult to his honor that must be avenged. And now he's found Mercutio, the head of the Montague stable, the A-train, the best guy there. And he is not afraid to brawl in public. Tybalt's the king of kings. He's the game. So he goes after Mercutio. He's pushing for a fight. He's pushing for a fight. At this moment, Romeo, recently wed, shows up, tries to keep the peace between the two of them. It's not enough. Tybalt and Mercutio fight. Tybalt breaks Mercutio in half in front of Romeo. And in a fit of rage, Romeo, to avenge his best friend, kills Tybalt. Just in the nick of time for the prince/general manager to show up and see everything. People tell him, it's not Romeo's fault, it's not his fault, you gotta let him go. Nope. Prince is like, you, Romeo, yes, you, friend there, you are a criminal, and I'm going to have you executed. So Romeo takes off, he runs for it, lives in exile, and he sends a letter to Juliet basically saying, come live with me, come live away from all of this pain and this misery and this war and this torment. Find a way however you can, I'll meet you at Summerslam. So the only way that Juliet can figure out as a means to get to Summerslam is to pretend to be dead. Yeah, that's right. This is a hardcore plan. Juliet basically gets her nurse to go out to an apothecary, buys poison. Juliet drinks poison that will all but kill her. And then she'll wake up, sneak out of the city, and go see Romeo. Unfortunately, this fucking metal-ass plan doesn't work out because Romeo doesn't get the message that she's still alive. Romeo hears from some other jobber that Juliet's dead. Romeo goes back to town, buys poison, goes to Juliet's grave, where Paris happens to be grieving. You know, remember that guy from before who Juliet was going to marry? Romeo murders him, and then upon seeing Juliet, drinks the poison, and kills himself. Moments later, Juliet regains consciousness and finds Romeo dead at her feet. She freaks out, looks at his poison bottle. There's not enough poison left. So instead, she takes out a dagger and stabs herself to death with it. And for a lot of people, that's the end of Romeo and Juliet. They're both dead in a catacomb, blah, 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 blah. But the epilogue, the ending of the play, is incredibly important because both families find their children dead, find that this tragedy has cost the lives of not just people who wanted to go out into the street and brawl, but the lives of 5 young people who didn't want to have anything to do with this. People who had futures ahead of them. And these old men and their bickerings, and these old wives and their bitchings, cost them the lives of their children. And the prince, showing mercy for the first time in the play, basically says, I'm not going to hand down punishments to you, Montague, or to you, Capulet, because God has punished you enough on this day. Learn from this so that I won't have to talk down to you ever again. And both of them look up at the prince and they're like, yeah, we've been fucking schooled. So yeah, that's Romeo and Juliet.